Welcome to the Postgraduate Pediatric Orthopedic video series. And I'm Sattar Alshryda. I'm a pediatric orthopedic surgeon. In this video, I'll take you through how to do a deformity correction using TL HEX support. We have selected a simple deformity of a tibia, 30 degrees of varus deformity, and almost negligible deformity on the sagittal plane. We will conduct preoperative planning, then we'll execute the operation, and then we'll do postoperative correction. And the first starting point is how to describe deformity in the three planes: the coronal plane, the transverse plane, and the sagittal plane. And this is really important when we input the data to the software of the HEX support. The deformity can be described in general angulation or translation in any of these three planes. In the coronal plane, the angulation either varus or valgus, while translation either medial or lateral. In the sagittal plane, angulation will be procurvatum of the ankle anterior and recurvatum of the ankle posterior, while translation could be anterior or posterior. In the axial plane, the angulation will be internal rotation or external rotation, while the translation will be either the limb is short or long. The coronal plane and sagittal plane can be easily assessed through x-rays, while the axial deformity usually require clinical assessment or CT scan for the rotational deformity, and while the translation can be assessed on x-rays as well. Let's go once more. In the frontal plane or the coronal plane, angulation is varus deformity and valgus deformity. Medial translation and lateral translation, depending on the direction. They could both happen at the same time, as in this case, there's varus angulation and medial translation. In the sagittal plane, angulation is a procurvatum, or sometimes called apex anterior, while posterior angulation or apex posterior or recurvatum. There will be anterior translation and posterior translation. And in the axial plane, there will be external rotation when the foot moves outward, or internal rotation when the foot moved inward. The translation in the axial plane is better to see it from the AB or lateral. This is short and this is long. Now, after we understood how to describe deformity, it is time to have fun with the software. It is a web-based software, so you need to log into the website by searching for the website. If you don't have it already in your favorite folder, you click on the link, and this will take you to the login page. On the login page, you put your username and password, then you sign in, and this will take you to the list of your patient. You can open any one of these patients, or you can add a new patient, and here we add a new patient. So let's assume the patient ID is 2024-5 and the initial is SAS, and let's assume he's a male. Then we have two options: either save it for future work or save and create case. And in this case, we're going to save and create case, and it will bring you to this window. If you look at the top, there are different tabs. Here is the case data tab, then deformity parameters, mounting parameters, schedule, and report. These are great, and now we are in this tab, which is active. So case data. Number one is case type. Is it a deformity or is it a fracture? For this example, we are correcting a deformity. Is this a trial or this is actual work? Of course, this is actual work. The patient ID already populated from the entry of a new patient. Then it will ask you about a frame ID, and there are different choices here. This refers to how many frames you use on this particular patient, and in this particular deformity which we are correcting, which is tibial deformity, we're going to use one frame only. if you have a patient where you're planning to put more than one frame, say one proximal tibia and one distal tibia, or one on a tibia and one on a femur, you can give ID for each of these frames. Can be up to 2, 3, or maybe 4 frames. Then case ID, you need to give case ID. Suppose this is 2, and this refers to the fact that some patient might have 2 different operations at 2 different times, one now and one maybe in a year's time. So the patient ID will remain the same, but the case ID will be different. Case description, this is a tibial deformity. It is a misshaft tibial deformity, and the plan created today, which is 30th of July 2023. The patient, the side either left or right, because we're planning on a saw bone. All the saw bones are left, and it is a tibia. And here you can put any note. For example, this is a training purpose. Just a note. Okay. Once you finish this one, you can see this little bottom or arrow, blue arrow on the side has been highlighted. Then you click on it, and this is your case created. Now it will move from case data to deformity parameters. And this, the first question you'll ask, is it proximal or distal referencing? You can choose either proximal or distal. This is your choice, but in general, most of the time we go for proximal. We use distal if we decided to do distal tibia and the deformity close to the ankle joint, or distal femur and the deformity close to the distal femur. In these situations, distal references may be more accurate. So, and this will bring us to this page, which is defining the deformity for the software. So you see on the top the deformity prescribed in the 3 planes, the AB, the lateral, on the axial. And each one there's angulation and there's translation, angulation and translation. We can enter the data of deformity manually. We can measure on our X-ray screen and we put it manually, or we can ask the software to do this for us using the HEX X-ray. Okay, so I like to use the HEX X-ray because it is a neater way to measure the deformity. So if you click on it will bring you to another page. And there's a disclaimer here. If you're going to upload any images, they should be not associated with any patient identifiable data. So the X-ray should be completely anonymized. And you have to accept that before you kind of proceed. And it will ask you, is this preoperative or postoperative? And this is preoperative. Now, if we look on this page, we have the image tool, we have the deformity analysis, we have the correction, and we have the mounting. And we have AP, and we have lateral, and we have this is multiple, still a grade. And if you look here, there's a tab here which is called guide. And if you don't know what to do at this page, or indeed any page, you always kind of click on the tab and it will tell you, it will take you to another page where it explains to you in a nice video what you need to do. Okay, but let's close this one for the time being. Here it is preoperative, which is highlighted in the blue, and we are not doing postoperative. By this I mean we still haven't done the surgery, we are planning the surgery. Now for the AP, let's upload the image, the first image. And I think these are the postoperative. We need the preoperative. I think they are here. And this is the AP. And upload the AP image. It takes some time, but eventually it will upload it. And here we are. Before you progress, it will ask you the image orientation. Is it correct or not correct? The top is correct. The bottom is correct. The lateral, the fibula on the lateral side, so lateral is correct, medial is correct, so I'm happy with this image, yes. Then it will ask you calibration. By calibration means the magnification. The software want to know the magnification of this image. And if you can see here, there's a calibration ball, and this is really important to see the to estimate the magnification of this image. There are different ways. You don't have to have the magnification ball. There are different ways to measure the magnification. For example, the ruler on the side, this is one way. If you have a frame on the tibia, you can use the frame ring. Usually the thickness of the frame ring is almost 1 centimeter or 10 millimeter. Okay. In this case, we're going to use the calibration ball. I'm just going to make it slightly bigger, so that will make it easier. And you can use a line or a circle here. Because it is a circle, I'm going to click on circle. So bring the circle on the ball there and try to bring it to the correct side. Okay, that's about right. And the size of the calibration ball is known to me, which is 25 millimeter. So I accept that, yes. Then automatically it will go to the lateral. You upload the lateral, it will take you to the same folder, and this is the lateral. Select it there. And here we are. Let's check the orientation. This is the top, which is correct. This is the bottom, which is correct. This is posterior and this is anterior. This is not correct. I think this is the anterior and this is the posterior. And I'm glad this happened so that you know how to switch it. So I'll say no. And here we are. It is automatically switched to the other side. If you're happy, you can click happy. If you're not happy, you still can click no, and you'll get more features how to turn it to the right side. But it looks good here. Again, we're going to use calibration, and again circle. Bring the circle to the thing. Maybe if we magnify it, it will make it easier. And this is 25 millimeter and magnify, and you have the two pictures now together, and the multiple has been highlighted. Now it will ask you, actually if I show you these again, these are the image editing tools. You can image, this is what I mentioned earlier. You can turn it, you can group it, you can flip it horizontal or flip it vertical. You can adjust the brightness and contrast here. But all they are good, they are in the right orientation, and the brightness is good. So we're going to move on. The reference point is a very important concept. Basically, we have two images for the same bone, and we need to link these images. And by linking them, which means identifying a point which is the same on both images. And you could use the tibial spine. I can see the tibial spine nicely visible on the AP, but not so on the lateral. So maybe not a good option. You can use the top of the fibula. Again, here is visible nicely, but on the lateral, maybe. I feel that the lowest part of the fibula is the most clearly visible on both the images. So I'm going to choose this one. So place. And I'm going to magnify both of them. I'm going to slightly lift it up. I bring my point to the tip of the fibula. So it's really important to choose and to place the reference point as accurate as possible, because this will reduce the mismatch between the two images that you may encounter later. Bring it down. Again, lift this one. Here we are. So I'm happy with the position of these things. Let me magnify a bit more just to be absolutely sure. Yeah, that's about right here, and here correct. So once I'm happy, I'll lock these images. Once you do that, you can see this highlighted. So I'm going to move to the next part, which is going to move from image tool into deformity analysis. Let's focus on one at a time. Let's go for the AP. Okay, and I'm going to magnify this slightly to see the images better. You can see this is the measurement tool. I'm going to magnify a bit more. Okay, you have a shaft and sort of a joint orientation line. Here 87 and he's 93. And again, for the bottom one, the green bar, again you have 91 and 89. And these are corresponding to the joint orientation angles. You can use these ones should you wish so, or you can use, because it's a shaft deformity, you can simply just put this one in the middle of the shaft. Okay, and this is in the middle of the shaft. Let me make it smaller a bit. Okay, so when you do that, if you notice on the deformity parameters here, you have on the AP and the lateral, you have the angular deformity calculated 26 degrees of varus. There's no translation, as you can see. On the lateral, we haven't done it on the lateral. So we use these as shaft mid-diaphyseal line. But also, if you want to use it as a joint line, you can lift them there and bring these on the joint here, and you can bring this one at the bottom there, and almost they give you the same result. Maybe this is slightly down, then a bit there, and maybe this slide. Okay. Yeah, so for whatever reason, when we use the joint lines, need to be more accurate because we knew this bone is 30 degrees. But really, it doesn't matter. These are a few degrees, it doesn't matter. You can use a shaft or you can use a joint line. In the middle of the bone, shaft will be easier. But if the deformity closer to the tibia, the proximal joint or distal joint, you have to use the joint orientation line. Okay, so I'm happy with that. Then I'll move to the lateral. Okay, again, we can do the same. We can use these, let me magnify them. Again, these are the joint orientation line, 81 degrees. This is for the proximal posterior tibial angle. And here, this is the distal anterior tibial angle, 80 degrees. You can use it as a joint orientation line, or you can use them as a shaft. So I'm going to use a shaft here, bring this one down, make it in the middle of the shaft, and make this in the middle of the shaft. And this is not, yeah, around there. So you need to get it really in the middle of the bone. Okay. Yeah, so it measures 7 degrees curvatum. We don't have any translation. Okay, we go back to the multiple thing. So if you go back to these things, I'm going to go step by step in the panel on this side. We have bone segment axis and dowels. These are great, so you cannot change them. But when you click them, if they are on, it will change whether these lines or dowels. These are to measure length, additional measurement tool if you want to measure any part of here. And this is a protractor to measure angles, should you wish to measure any angles here. After we put our measurement lines, the deformity parameters have been displayed here. On the AP X-rays, which is the coronal plane, we have angular deformity of 30 degrees varus, and we have 0 translation. We don't have any medial or lateral translation here. On the lateral view, which is a measure for the sagittal plane, on the for rotation, we have around 7 degrees of procurvatum or apex anterior, but we have 0 translation. We don't have any translation. For the axial plane, this has to be input manually because we measure either on CT scan or clinically. And clinically, we don't have, we knew the bone, there's no rotational deformity. Translation is the bone short or long? We don't have any shortening or lengthening of the bone. So once we are happy, we can log this thing. Now, the software automatically add the osteotomy, where your osteotomy must be. And it will tell you that minimal of 11 millimeter lengthening needed to prevent impingement. What does that mean? This is your osteotomy. If we make our osteotomy here and we start correcting this deformity, this edge will hit this edge, and this is impingement. So the bone has to be lengthened by around 11 millimeter to prevent this happening. Before we progress any further, I want to bring your attention. You can see the osteotomy here, almost at the deformity, but if you look at it here, it is slightly lower. Actually, you can measure this if I make it small. Okay, you can measure this one by putting these line. Again, I'm going to magnify it slightly, bring this line from your reference point to the osteotomy. So here it measured 202, and let's measure it on the AP. Again, into the middle of the thing, and it measured 195. So this difference related to the magnification or misplacement of the reference point. A few millimeter doesn't make a huge difference. So let's remove these one, delete this one, and let's delete this one. What you can do at this stage to make life easier, you can see where the main part of the deformity, so you can slightly adjust your osteotomy, going through your thing by a slight angle there. And if you move the osteotomy up, this will move up. So I would rely on one view more than the others, and in this case I'm relying on the AP view because most of the deformity is in this plane, so it's okay here. Okay, so now you can see when I change my osteotomy side and I change the angle of it, so the lengthening will drop to 4 millimeter. So now I'm happy, I'm moving forward. Okay, and this is, we moved from image tools to deformity analysis to correction. At the end of my correction, this is what I should see. Actually, I'm happy with that. I corrected fully in this plane and I corrected fully in this plane, and there's zero deformity here. Okay, and by doing that, the bone would be lengthened by 4 millimeter, which is mandatory lengthening. I'm happy with that. It doesn't. So I will lock this one. Then it will take me to the next part. Okay, and this is the fun part of the software, which is the mounting parameters. Here I'm going to build my frame even before I started my surgery. If you look at the left hand panel, you have proximal support, distal support. When you click on the proximal support, you have the type of ring. You have full ring, open anterior, open medially, open posterior, foot plate, and full ring. I'm going to choose 160 full ring here. This is proximal, and again, it is mid shaft. It is similar, almost similar, and here we are. We get the 2 rings put on our bone. Again, you can see here rings. It is set on. When you press off, the ring disappears, and we're left with circles. And you put it on, you see the ring again. If you notice, the proximal ring is a straight line, both on the lateral and on the AP, while the other ring is more tilted. This is because we choose our reference ring is a proximal ring, and usually the reference ring is orthogonal on the X-ray, so you should see it as a line. I'm just going to slightly magnify it to see better. Okay, now you have here what we call the orientation line, and it is off, and this is on the AP only. I'll tell you what the orientation line is. If you click on, you can see this yellow line. What this yellow line is, this line here is a reference point on the leg of the child, or the leg of the patient. And there's one line is how far this line from the ring, and another line how far from the osteotomy. Let me magnify this. So basically my orientation line is 201 away from the ring and 251 away from the osteotomy. Now I need to bring this reference point to a place where I can find surgically, so probably the joint line. So basically I'm going to put my frame, the top ring of my frame, around 182 millimeter away from the joint surface. Okay, and my osteotomy will be around 232. Okay, and I said it is AP only, not on the lateral, because most of the time when we do operating, when we put our frame is with the patient supine. Now we go down, and here is the fun part. Here what we call a planier frame. So when I press this one, it will bring me to my plan. I usually do the correction twice a day, 10 o'clock in the morning and 10 o'clock in the evening, and I usually correct by 1 millimeter a day, daily correction. So when I calculate that, this will bring me to this image or this page. Here it tells me that if I do the frame in this way and this distance from the joint surface, I need to exchange two struts, strut number 5 and number 6. By change, I mean change them either from medium to long or from short to medium, and adjust one strut, which is number 6. By adjustment means keeping the same strut but change the numbers on the acute and gradual. I'm not happy with that really. I want this to keep these to the minimal because there's a logistic issues and cost involved with these ones. So let me see if I play with my ring with that improve. So let me bring this. At 156. So we still have exchange to exchange. Let me change it. 140. Aha, adjustment. So I don't need to do any exchange here, which is great. Okay, let me bring my, let me make it smaller first. Let me bring my bottom ring slightly lower. 2 exchanges. No, I'm not happy with that. Let me break this down. Still 2 adjustment. Drop up. 3 adjustment. Yeah, so three. I prefer to have 2 adjustments rather than 1 adjustment and exchange. So let me drop this down a bit. Oh, that's the best really, the lowest I could. So we have 1 adjustment, no exchange. So I'm happy with that. Save schedule. Okay, I saved my schedule and I'm happy with my plan. I need to print it. Okay, proceed. And this is my plan. Basically what it tells me that I need to put my reference ring around 155 millimeter away from the joint line, and my osteotomy will be 232 millimeter from the joint line. Okay, my proximal ring is slightly 5 millimeter medial to the center. But on the lateral it is almost central. There's no angulation in my ring, neither on the front view or lateral view. So I'm happy with this one. I can print it or I can capture it. So I usually capture it. Preoperative. Okay, and I'll save it there. Once I'm happy, I close this one and I close this one and I lock my planning. Then I'll move to the next part. asks me to save images. Yes, I'm saving these images, and it will take me to the mounting parameters. In this one, you can see many items has been graded because this has been automatically calculated for you by the software. You can override it by clicking inside them, but you don't have to. And also, the software advises you or asks you to build the frame in this way. You know the size of the ring. These are the strut the software selected. Strut number 1, it should be medium. The acute should be set for 26 and the gradual for 35. For strut number 2, it should be long. 191, 0 for the acute, 48 for the gradual. And likewise for the strut number 3, 4, 5, and 6. And when you build your frame should look like this from the front, this is from the side, and this is from the bottom. And at the end of correction, your strut will be, if you compare them, you have medium, medium, so there's no exchange, long, 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 medium, 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 so they have not changed, which we expected from our preoperative planning. So I'm happy with that. Then I'll move to the next part, which is the schedule. Here is the date of starting the surgery, and usually there's a latency period of 5 days. It depends on the age of the child or which bone we are using. So usually start like that after 5 days, and the daily correction is 1 millimeter a day, and I usually do it twice. Okay, so I'm happy with all that one. I'll go next, and here we are. This is our program. Now we reach to the end of our programming, which is the final tab. Here we can generate the report. Before we come to this part, let's look at this table here, because it's really very important. And in this table, you have many columns. The first column is from 0 to 11. These are the interaction with the frame. And the second column is the days. If you exclude the immediate postoperative day 0, if you look, each day has 2 events. One in the morning, 10 o'clock in the morning, one in the evening at 10 o'clock. Because this is what we programmed it to do. 10 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock in the evening for each day. Then you have each strut color coded from strut number 1 to strut number 6. Under the strut, you have the size, whether you use short, medium, or long. And you have the A for the acute reading, G for the gradual reading, and a click for how many clicks you need to do on that day to change from number to number. If you look for the acute, usually it does not change. 26, 26 to the end. And in fact, this is for the orange, yellow, green, and a blue. And this is what we want, because we don't want the acute to be changed. The exception is the purple, because we need to readjust it. The acute was 222 till this date here, which is Wednesday, the 2nd of August, where it will be changed. The light blue is the time where we can change it. Darker blue when we have to change it. These one optional, you can change it if you wish, or you can leave it, but when you reach the darker blue, you have to change it. Not change it, adjust it. There's a difference between exchange and adjustment. Here we need to adjust it. By adjustment would mean, if you look at the final date before the adjustment, you have 2 in the acute and 2 in the gradual. The difference between them around 0. While here jumped for 35-30. The difference between them around 5. Again, if you go to the day after, it's going to be 5. So in the last few days, really goes, this strut goes quite fast. So now we understood what this table is. Here, the last one, action. For example, if you put this one, details and checkup, you can click on any date where you can see what your frame looks like and what your strut reading are and how much correction you have. Here, for example, you have 10 degrees of varus, 2 degrees of preoperative, no external rotation. You can close it. And the other one here, if you want to adjust things, when you click on this one, it will bring it here. You can adjust, you can change the numbers here to adjust the struts. These are really very useful. For example, you can change this one. You can change here the adjustment. If you wanted to do the adjustment here, you change them through the adjustment thing. Okay, now we understand this table. The patient doesn't need all these details. So sometimes you just print the patient prescription and you print it out. And if you see the printout, it will give him just the gradual correction. And here, again, the gradual correction. But when it reaches to the Wednesday, because we change the numbers, and this is the doctor usually do the adjustment, he have different number there. Okay, and let me close this one. For the report, for the full report, this is for the medical record and for the staff, in which you can see the whole everything on that table. Okay, and the last thing for the billing purposes or replenishing the items, you can print this one. So basically what you use 2 rings, one 160, 160, one each. Use 2 long struts and 4 medium struts, and these are their items. So this is the purpose of it. Now this will take us to the end of our programming, and now we will go to build our frame. And now we finished the first part of this video, which is the preoperative planning. And the next video will cover the operation technique and the postoperative correction. There are a lot of technical details which need some repetition to be able to master it.